Good morning, everybody. Ads and Zoe here from Herman Hits the Road, and today is a Saturday, and we're having a very nice, cool morning at the moment. The sun is blazing, and we're sitting in Gordon's Reserve, which is not that big to be quite honest, but we're here. We're waiting for our tour to start, which is in about 20 minutes. It's a free tour from Walks 101, and it's going to take us a couple of hours walking around Melbourne, showing us the sights and sounds.
Here he comes with the blue umbrella.
Yeah, I can see someone there just with the blue umbrella. That's who we're waiting for. This person here. Looks like we have a very large crowd joining us.
Welcome to Melbourne. Now, just a quick little thing. You're here, obviously. We'll be walking around for the next couple of hours. My name is Mark. I will be your tour guide today. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. There's a lot to do, and it all just seems to be very, very hidden, though. And I love doing this. I love showing people around, showing you why we were voted most livable city in the world for 7 years in a row. Until we lost it to Vienna. Okay, just remember, okay guys, seriously, for everyone's safety, just remember in Australia, we drive on the correct side of it, so the left side of the road. There are 4 main religions in Melbourne. It is a very religious city, so we do have some stops we have to do to pay our respects. And those religions are coffee, live music, football and beer. Soon Melbourne flourished. It became the richest city in the world. So with all this gold, they needed a place to store it. Enter the Treasury Building, which is the first stop on our tour. Let's do it. Come on.
So this is the Treasury. It's actually now a museum, but this has been brought about because Melbourne used to be kind of at the heart of the gold rush, very wealthy city, and people would spend about 15 hours a day digging, coming up with the bits of gold and whatever, and they would get on there, put them in their cart, and then come up this road here, up these steps, and basically just deliver the gold, get it weighed, and get it melted down, and they'll go and spend their money in the pubs and the theatres just like around the corner. We're now heading to AC/DC Lane, named after the rock band. Yes. There's also a Batman Lane, or Batman Road or something. Very weird. There we go. So we're down a lane here, which there's quite a lot of graffiti, and apparently you are able to do it. It's not illegal, but it is illegal if it's a private building. Some more amazing graffiti, and then we have this rodent. It is crazy though. It's everywhere.
Prettiest place though, is it more? I love.
Do you not think it's Do you don't think it's pretty? I mean, it's random.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is AC/DC Lane itself, and as you can see, literally by the giant statue of Bon Scott that we have here. Yes, he does look like Han Solo trapped in carbonite, who was the original singer for AC/DC. He died in 1980 after having a big night out. They put him in the back seat of the car to sober up, and he never woke up. So he was replaced with singer Brian Johnson, who's been the singer for the last 30 plus years, and now who's had ear issues and has now been replaced for the last tour by Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses fame. Speaking of AC/DC Lane though, right behind us, you can see these 2 murals are Malcolm Young, who for those that don't know was the rhythm guitarist for AC/DC, said to have the hardest right hand in rock. He's the brother of Angus Young, the guy who's the lead guitarist, the guy who dresses up in the schoolboy uniform and still does the thing across the stage, still at 75 because he never gets old. But Malcolm himself died of dementia about 2 years ago. Day after his death, these 2 had appeared, and the artist responsible, Lush Sucks, had done them in 2 hours. But along this area, this whole mural along here was commissioned by the Cherry Bar, and it's all about classic rock albums. The Cherry Bar is no longer there, unfortunately. It's now about to reopen elsewhere in the city, but they were the ones who got it changed to AC/DC Lane, given the respect they gave to the music industry in Melbourne. Now the Cherry Bar itself was a classic old school rock club Noel Gallagher from Oasis had tried to buy it 3 times. If there was a big band in the city, they would always do the after party. The guy who founded Melbourne saw the river and he said this is a perfect place for a city because ships will be able to come in with all absolute ease, perfect for trade. And of course he wins my award for the greatest surname of all time. His name was John Batman.
Hence Batman.
Yeah, Batman Avenue,
Batman,
yeah. There's actually a reason for that. Now, despite how fantastic his surname is, he was not the nicest guy in the world, and he's not my favourite person in history. I'll tell you why. He was one of those responsible for the Black Wars, which was basically he wanted the cheap, easy land in Tasmania and organised help for the near genocide of the Tasmanian Aboriginal people. He was no better here. He was very cruel. When he came over here, he did originally try and do some trade with the Boonawurrung tribe. Basically gave them things like tomahawks, blankets, in exchange for the land. Now, as I mentioned, not having land ownership the way we would understand it, they belonged to the land. That was like trading your mother. So instead, they thought, okay, we're getting all this stuff. What do we do with it? What do you mean we have to leave? He had them pushed off, in some cases executed. What started as a row of tents, by the end of the 1820s, it started to grow into a big bustling city, showing a lot of promise. Major city, naturally it needed a name. Being the humble guy that he was, he submitted the name to the crown of Batmania. Even the crown got sick of him by this point. They said, no, John, we're not going to call it Batmania. Batman's a stupid name, it'll never catch on. So they kicked him out, gave him a retirement farm, and he lived out his days pretty nicely, thank you very much. It was changed to Melbourne after the Lord Melbourne, who was Prime Minister of England at that time. So on my left, guys, right behind me here, is what is currently the tallest public lookout in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow.
That's the tallest building in Australia. Until March next year, when the building behind it will overtake it and take the crown. But this is the Eureka Tower. It's one of the must-dos while you're in Melbourne, because if you go up there to the top, the view is just beautiful. But how it gets its name and its design comes from the Eureka Stockade, which was basically the birth of Australian democracy. It was a riot, literally. So in 1854, as I mentioned, the aristocracy have the full voting rights. Everyone's coming down to Victoria to get gold. With all these people coming in, they decided, okay, to be a miner, you now need to have a license. The licensing fee was 35 shillings a month, which was an entire week's pay for most miners. Most of them couldn't make the bill. If you couldn't make it, the police would turn up, gun in hand, hold you at gunpoint and demand the money. They were called the licensing hunts. And it culminated when a Scotsman was murdered out the front of the Eureka Hotel. So all this resentment against the police finally boiled over. The owner of the hotel was believed to be the killer, but when he was found innocent on trial, that was it. The levee broke and all the miners descended onto the hotel, burning it to the ground. In response, the English army was sent in to try and quell the uprising. In response, an Irish ex-engineer by the name of Peter Laylaw mobilised all the people, all the miners, gave them all guns. They burnt their licenses in the public square, and they marched out of the city centre, and using his engineering prowess, built a wooden stockade around the miners. In the centre of the stockade, they put a blue and white flag called the Eureka flag, which was the 5 stars of the Southern Cross, combined the stars with a big white cross in the centre, and they refused to come out. Amongst their demands were end of the hunts, end of the licenses and the fees, the right to vote. At 3 a.m, the army surrounded them and they charged. 25 miners were killed in the 20-minute attack. 5 soldiers were killed. The rest of the soldiers were then captured, put on trial, but no jury ever convicted them. And I'll tell you why. They soon discovered court of public opinion was in favour of the miners, not of the soldiers. And they realised this is the start of a revolution. And everybody knows what happened. Everyone knows what happens to the aristocracy during revolutions. So they soon quelled the uprising. Every single one of the demands was met. They were released. When they returned to Melbourne, the miners were given a full ticker tape parade throughout the city centre. So that's where the building gets its name, Eureka Stockade, Eureka Tower, its name and its design. The gold at the top is 24 karat gold, very expensive panelling, representing the gold rush. The red represents the blood that was spilt. And the blue and white colours down the side represent the blue and white colours of the Eureka flag. And if anyone's in the market, there is an apartment for sale at the top for $22 million.
This is DeGrave Street. Food, coffee, anything you like down here. Apparently it's very good. We're down Burke Street at the moment. This is where our hotel is, a bit further in that direction. But I just wanted to point out some of these old buildings, his architecture here. There's that one there and this one. But there's also this one here. You can make out the motifs along there, the patterning. And the colour of the brickwork. Let's move on though, because someone's trying to tune a guitar in or something. Ooh, that's hurt my ears. Check this out for building craziness. So you have these skyscrapers just there, panning down. We have this kind of an oldie building there, and right next to it, built into the side of it, is this strange looking architectural type mess of a building. In fact, look at this, it's got holes in it. Look at this, holes in it. Really weird. Guess the architect must have had a field day making that, designing that. Alright, we're standing right outside the jail here, built in the 18th century, and then right in the background is those 20th century skyscrapers. And this is the place where Ned Kelly was hung. We're going to get a story of Ned Kelly right now, I hope.
This was the hanging place of Ned Kelly. Now this is a absolutely insane story. Ned, at age 10, risks his life diving into a nearby river to save a young boy from drowning. The boy's family are so appreciative. They give him a green sash for bravery, and he wears this sash everywhere that he goes. Everyone knows him as the boy with the green sash. But with all the police harassment, it finally gets to him when he's 16 years old. What happens is a friend of his, William Burns, had a missing horse. So he tells Ned, if you could help me find the horse, that would be great. You could borrow it for a couple of hours. And Ned says, great. What he didn't know is Burns had reported the horse stolen and not missing. So Ned finds this stolen horse. Unbeknownst to him, this stolen horse, rides it through the nearby town thinking, excellent, I've got Burns' permission. The local constable sees him on the stolen horse, goes to arrest him. But one does not simply arrest Ned Kelly. Ned overpowers the constable, drops him to his hands and knees, and then rides the constable through town like a horse, digging his spurs into the policeman's leg. He is pistol whipped into submission, and he is 16 at this point. He gets 3 years hard labour for that little stunt. When he comes out, he's now huge. He's been building roads, he's been building buildings. Now he's big, he's strong. He looks to settle the score with Burns. So he takes him on in a 20-bout bare-knuckle boxing match, after which he's unofficially declared the district boxing champion. They walk out into the night. The police can see 4 figures come out of the pub. They know that's the gang, and they open fire. But all they can hear in the night is ding, 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 ding. The figures stand there, and they disappear back into the hotel. What they had done is stolen plough equipment from the nearby farmers, built 4 bulletproof suits of armour to face the police, including a helmet with a see-through slit, 2 shoulder pads, and a torso protector. It was an inch thick, turning themselves into pistol-packing, bulletproof medieval knights. He then takes his helmet, puts it on his head, takes a single-shot pistol, and goes out into the night to face 30 police officers armed with rifles, alone. So it's the police versus one armoured Ned, and he walks into the night through the mist. They can see the figure come at him. They don't know what they're seeing, so they just simply open fire. And all the bullets bounce off of him like nothing happens. He's shot 18 times in the armour to no effect. He shoots one, he reloads, shoots another. Desperate, those that are surviving still continue to pound him in bullets. Nothing seems to be working, and he pushes through. Now they think he's a demon and cannot be stopped. They start screaming, "Devil! Devil!" It's not. Finally, soon he's killed over 10 police officers. It's not until finally the next morning when the sun starts to creep up over the horizon, they can see the devil has no protection on his legs. The order is given, shoot the legs! So they lower their rifles, open fire on his legs. He still tries to walk through, but flesh is ripped off of his legs, and he finally says, I am done. Falls to the ground. Bring him up to the gallows, place him over the platform. His hands are tied. They put the noose around his neck. True to his words to his mum, he takes a moment. Then he's asked, any last words, Mr. Kelly? And he says, such is life. And is hung on the spot, becoming a legend. So, on that note, everyone, such is life. That's the end of our tour. Give yourselves a round of applause, guys. Thanks so much for coming out this morning. Been awesome having you as well, and it's been
Right. So what do you think of it then?
It was very good, Maya.
Yeah. Would you recommend it to anybody, do you think? I think so. It's kind of a...
He was very informative, wasn't he? Knew his
and
stuff.
it was entertaining as well,
Yes.
wasn't it? So, ooh, hello.
Off we go.
Yeah, so we're on a tram right now in the free zone. Going back to the hotel, so some bit of rest while we've
Because we've had an
wandered the
exhausting
streets.
day.
Yeah.
No, the tour was, how long was it? 3 hours, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So I think that was long enough, wasn't it? Because we were getting a bit peckish.
And it was free, but we gave them $20 each
Yeah.
at the end of it. Yeah, it's good. Totally recommend that.
Anything else you want to add, Maya? I don't think he does.
It finishes right near Aldi, which is handy because we've got some shopping.
What did I say?
Thanks for watching our video. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed or leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe for more video updates or maybe even watch one of our previous videos. Bye bye now.